Welcome to the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, where you get multifamily investing made real. Learn from top players in the real estate investment world as they share their secrets with you and discover proven strategies on apartment investing that actually work. To learn more about Wheelbarrow Profits, visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. Now to your hosts, Jake and Gino.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast, the number one multifamily podcast on iTunes, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father of six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbaro. Gino, how's it going?
Doing good, Stenziano. Number 7 on real estate, number 3 in apartments. Bigger pockets, we're coming for you, bro. We're coming for them.
Bring the panya. Today, we have a special edition of the Wheelbarrow Profits Podcast. We are going to share our 15 ways to increase revenue in your multifamily property. But I think we're going to drill down and get a little more specific than that. Gino, how is this done?
Well, let me circle back to the bigger pockets and the other guys. I want you guys all to jump on. There are a ton of other great podcasts on iTunes. We've been fortunate that we've had such great community build up. We're here to bring this 15 ways just to show you the value that we bring out. Go on iTunes, check out all the other guys on there. We've got a great community of fellow investors on there. Check them out. Let's get to the value of a multifamily property. And this is the big difference between multifamily and single families. Single families, you buy a house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. What is it worth? Well, what did the guy pay down the street yesterday? That's basically what your house is worth, single family. You don't have very much control. You hope you're riding the wave. You're getting that appreciation. On a multifamily, it's a lot different. We're talking about NOI. What is the NOI? The NOI is the net operating income of the property, which is gross operating income less your operating expenses. Gross operating income is all the revenue you collected, take away any vacancy, any other losses, you get a gross number. Now, we're going to focus on revenue in this call because we want to, as entrepreneurs, hit the revenue. We want to get that top line going. As Big G Daddy, not this Big G Daddy, the other Big G Daddy, Grant Cardone says, you don't have an expense problem. You've got a revenue problem. And I faced that most of my adult life saying, I got to live within my means. No, you don't. Think about expanding your revenue. If you're a sales guy out there, if you're into multifamilies or single families, try to grow the top line. I know when you grow the top line, you're going to grow your expenses. But if you focus on the top line and increase that top line, you're going to make more money. You're going to put more money in your pocket. Let's focus on the revenue on this call. We're going to talk about something called the expense creep at the end of the call, which Jake loves to talk about. And I've all witnessed it. We've all witnessed it. We have to be very careful of the expense creep. But NOI is basically the operating income less operating expenses. Operating expenses are janitor, maintenance, any expense that you need to operate the property. That's what your NOI is. You are focused on increasing that NOI by either A, increasing the income, and or B, decreasing the expenses. Now, capital expenses are not part of your NOI calculation. They come below. So when you guys are analyzing properties, you're going to see sometimes owners, you hope they do it, they put it in an operating expense, which will lower the NOI. But if you've got an air conditioning replacement, that is not an operating expense. That will go below the NOI into the CapEx account. It won't affect the value of the property. Be careful of that. So that's what we're here for. We're here to actually increase the revenue on this call. So Jake, take it away, bro.
Before we get there, I just had to take some notes on what you said because you're spewing some greatness right there. And what this all comes back to is really being responsible for yourself. You talked about if you have a single-family rental, you're going to be based on a comp down the street, right? This is why some of the stuff that you're so good at, Gino, because you talk about the mindset of a multifamily investor. This is what this all comes down to. Think about this. Being responsible for yourself. If you're in a big multifamily complex, you're responsible for growing that NOI, and your value is going to be derived from that NOI. If you're in a single little one family rental, you're going to be based on comps, right? This is a difference between having a job, a single family rental, and creating wealth, having large multifamily properties, and being responsible for the revenue that you're bringing in, for the net operating income that you're producing. Total mindset difference, and I'm just like, you hit the crux of it. So nice job.
I want to let me jump into something that's relevant to this topic. I'm trying to sell my house up here in New York, as you know, Jake, and as a lot of people know. I am stuck in the rut because my house is beautiful. There's no comparables to it on the street. Unfortunately, guy down the street sold it because he had to get out, and there's other distressed properties. So what are they doing? People looking at comps on the property and around the neighborhood and going, "Oh, why is this house at 4,200 square feet going for this? It should be $182 a square foot." I'm running into that problem in my personal life. So I don't want you to run into that problem when you're investing. I have no control. I overbuilt, I overspent because I enjoyed it myself. But now I'm reaping not the benefits. I'm getting hammered on the other end. And I'm saying to myself, I don't want anyone that's investing in properties beholden to the market. I want them to be able to take care of their own financial responsibility and take hold of the reins. And this is how you do it, through using multifamily investing.
So getting back to our top 15 here, and that's a great point, Gino. My number one favorite is to add additional units. And this comes through your due diligence, because when we look at a property, we look for storage units, we look for down units, we inspect every unit of the property. I remember our third deal we purchased, there was 3 down units. They were being used for maintenance sheds. There's no reason to be using these things for maintenance sheds. You're leaving money there was 5?
There's 6.
Well, there was like 3 that were real bad. I mean, that had nothing.
And the other 3 were being used as storage sheds, aka crap.
Right.
And that goes to the mom and pop owner. So you're looking for mom and pop owners. What happens is they're too freaking cheap to go in there and spend $3,000 or $5,000 to turn an apartment. They're going to make that money back by the end of the year, but they're letting it go. And you know what? They start loading in stuff, and they start slipping, and they're not taking care of their business. So they're not taking care of their revenue. They're living within their means. They don't want to spend, so they're cutting their expenses. And everyone does that during a recession. We all cut the marketing. This is when you have to start spending more money, but our mindset is we have to survive. The mom and pop, and even my mindset during the downturn is we had to survive. So what happened on this property, there were 6 units that were completely down, and 3 were being used as storage. Because I remember there was 136 units. There were like 30 units vacant on this property. It was 80% occupancy, and I'm saying to myself, "Whoa, that is huge value."
Next to the largest manufacturer in the state.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was just completely being mismanaged. So look for these properties. And, Jake's thing is we wanted rent-ready units. So they gave us rent-ready units. They made those units rent-ready, which I don't know why they would do that, but that's what we put on our contract, and we never get pushback on that, because it's basically, if you're showing me a unit that has no appliances in it, that has no flooring, it's stripped out, I've got to go in there and take care of that. That can cost up to $10,000, because air conditioning unit, appliances, flooring, paint, that all really adds up. So we put that in our, when we do our inspection, we want rent-ready units.
On our 281 unit deal, there was a commercial space that they were using for a barber shop or something, mm-hmm. but they didn't have any tenant in there for years. So they kept that on the market trying to rent it out, but they weren't getting anybody. We went in, we turned it into a beautiful, huge 2-bedroom that we're getting, I don't know, probably close to $800 a month for right now. So that was just another example. And currently, on one of our properties, we have 3 units that were being used for storage. We're converting those into studios. And, because guys, think about this. You can go to Lowe's, for crying out loud, and buy a storage shed for $2,000. Okay? You don't want to waste this space. It's valuable space. People can live there. Go in, $10,000 to fix one of these places up. You can have a beautiful unit versus, paying $50,000 to $100,000 to build from the ground up. It's a no-brainer.
And what happened on one of the most recent purchases we had, they had big laundry rooms. Mm-hmm. And these laundry rooms, we were going to consolidate them. But then we said to ourselves, in this market, there's a real big demand for studios and 1-bedrooms. We were going to turn them into 2-bedroom units. So what we decided to do is we're going to keep the laundry units there, make them smaller, and we're going to make studios. 3 units, $600 a piece, $1,800 a month. That's $20-something thousand a year. At a 10 cap, that's another $200,000 in value we just created on that property. And it's there. They weren't utilizing it. We came up with something ingenious. It's all the infrastructure is there. So we're going to tackle that. On another property we have a laundry room down in the basement. And right next door, there was this big closet. Lo and behold, you open it up, and as far as the eye can see, there's windows down there. There's a means of egress. We're going to split that up and put a couple more units down there. So you have to find stuff. If you can find anything on your property where you can build out a studio, 1-bed, whatever, 2-bed, whatever it is, try to explore that option.
Maximize the space that you're given. There's no reason not to get 100% of what you have. Look, it's little stuff. It's 1 here, 2 there, but maximize the space that you have. Next up is laundry revenue. We just did a podcast on laundry, so we went pretty in depth on that. But the big key here is, I think, tenant retention, because people are going to need to do their laundry. But we don't want to be servicing machines. We don't want to be taking care of machines. We want the machines to be nice looking. We want the tenants to be able to use these machines. And we want about a 60-40 split. We keep 60 and the laundry company keeps 40. So when you go in, if you're buying from a mom and pop and they're collecting the quarters, they're going around, don't be cheap on this. You're still going to get a nice draw every month from the laundry, but you're going to get new machines by going with a laundry company.
A, you're going to get a bonus when you first sign up with them.
And you're going to get a bonus. Put that into rehab in one of your units, right?
B, you're going to get new machines. So that means the machines you have, you're going to go and you're going to sell them on Craigslist. So you're going to make money by selling your crappy machines. C, utilize your technology, because you don't want to be, I always say money's sticky, cash money's sticky. I was in a cash business. Cash money disappears. And, even with these companies, they get guys to come in and collect it, or even your managers, your maintenance guys, they go in there. You don't want to have that headache or that nightmare. If you can get into the technology of using cards where they load the cards up, it'll save you a ton of effort. I love the laundry providers. They add a lot of value. When you go in there, they're going to want you to sign at least a 5, if not a 7-year contract. But check them out. Give them the opportunity, because I don't want my maintenance guy who's supposed to be turning an apartment take another 3 days because he's servicing laundry machines. So you're losing time, and you're going to have to employ more people to take care of a laundry unit or laundry room when you can have a company. And basically, they have a barcode. When one of your systems or units is down, you just email them. Boom, the machine is down. You take a picture, like Jake says, and they come within a day or within 2 days, and let them take care of it. But that's the big thing with the mom and pops. They let these things go to waste, and a lot of the properties we have, they have washer dryer connections in them. But a lot of people don't have their own laundry. It costs several $100s to get a machine, so they like the laundry room. So that's an excellent service. Obviously, what happened when we started up, we started using more water because we were using more laundry. We actually had such a demand that we had to pipe in and more laundry machines there, which is great because that means there was a demand for it. So go around your neighborhood, see what everyone else is charging. Obviously, if you have a laundry, machine place right next to your property, it might be a little bit difficult for you because they go right across the street. But just go check out what everyone's charging and be competitive and offer it as a service, because it's a huge service for tenants.
Yeah, definitely. And then also, we like to utilize storage space. Specifically, we like to turn it into units if possible. But our first property that we bought was the super mom and pop. I mean, this thing had like sheds out back and that were just filled with crap. So we basically took all the stuff out of these sheds and started renting them out, and it was great because these were like almost the size of garages. And even if it's an extra $200 a month, whatever the case may be, that's real money, and every little bit helps. So this goes back to just maximizing what you have. Don't waste it. Every little bit helps.
Let me give you a little tip on that too. Believe it or not, a lot of tenants have a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
they start storing stuff on your property.
It's a market.
When you have that nuisance, creep up of the rent year to year, $20 or $15, they're going to say to themselves, "Is it really worth it for me to leave for a $15 increase? I've got to get all the stuff out of my storage unit. I've got to get my stuff out of here. I've got to put in a security deposit." So that, believe it or not, is a retention tool, and also it's a service because if they have a 1-bedroom, they don't have enough room. A lot of them will go to a place to store their stuff. Why not store it on your property? If you guys want, go to companies like Betco, BETCO, and Trachete, TRACHTE.com. They have mini storage. If you've got property on your property that you can put these mini storage units on there, they can cost $3,000 to $4,000 for one. You rent them out for a couple $100 a month. You'll get your money back at the end of the year. If there's a demand there, go see if there's a demand on your property. That's another way to add value and to put money into your pocket and increase the NOI.
Next one is super important because it actually can dictate your cash flow at times, and that is late fees. We used to charge a flat $30 late fee. Getting into the game, didn't really know. We just adopted it because it was one of the policies on the properties. But then we saw that we were becoming the bank. people were like, oh, $30, not a big deal. I'll pay them on the 15th and just string them out a little bit, and they didn't mind paying that $30. And we're thinking, okay, we're getting an extra $30, great. But it starts to affect your cash flow. We have bills that we need to pay. We need to pay for utility bills. We need to pay for landscapers. We need to pay painters. So if we're waiting on the money to come in, it starts messing everything up. So what we eventually adopted a 10% late fee, and believe it or not, that made a big difference because that, in some instances, more than doubled the late fee. People stopped using us as a loan and started paying the rent on time, and they started getting the rents in quicker. And when they did have to pay the late fee, it was that much sweeter for us because we got that much more revenue. So we always look at it as a value for value proposition. We set the market rent, and we expect the person to pay it. If for whatever reason they're going to be late, that's fine, but there should be a recourse because then it could really clog up the rest of the system, and we need to be able to pay our mortgages and pay our bills. So it's very important.
I've got 2 points to make. First thing, Jake made a great point about a nuisance. We did a podcast with Tom Rearlight on taxes, Rich Dad Advisor. Go listen to that podcast. Basically, he said taxes affect behavior. That's why the government writes it. This is a behavior affecting fee because you want to affect their behavior by saying if you don't pay, you're going to get hammered. And people really, really get affected by economics real quick. When it's their skin in the game and they have to pay for something, they get it real fast. It's like telling a child, you do this, you're going to get punished. It's a punishment tax. And you know what? I think it's fair because we're not the bank. We have obligations. We have employees and we have families. The second point I'd like to make is please don't get into the habit of what I used to do, feeling sorry for people and saying, oh, you know what, I'll let you skip this month. If you start to implement this, please do it across the board to everybody. Everybody has to be treated equally. I know people run on tough times. I understand that. But if you have several people running on tough times, you could start running on tough times yourself. So you really have to be implemented and be fair.
No, it's trickle down problems at that point. And a classic example of, to Gino's point, New York State was having a hard time getting people to wear their seatbelts until they enacted the marketing campaign "Click It or Ticket." It was basically like, put the seatbelt on or you're getting a ticket. Mm-hmm. That changed the game for them. So it's like, unfortunately, sometimes there has to be that almost punishment, if you will, for not following the agreement, right? So that's that. But
and guys, let me make this point too. This is what Jake and I like to implement also. It's hard when you have your first 10-unit property and you're becoming friendly with these people.
It is.
Always say to them, make it a layer. It's easier for you to negotiate if you create a layer. You can go to them and say, hey, listen, I'm sorry. My partners have implemented this. I'm just following the rules. If you don't want to be the bad guy, Jake, I'm like the worst guy on the planet because Jake has blamed me for hundreds of things, and that's the way it should be, right? I am the devil. But you know what? In a way, it has to be that way because he deals with these people every day. So sometimes to take the pressure off of him, he'll say, listen, guys, the partnership has agreed to this. I'm just working for the partnership, and I'm part of it. So this is the rules we have implemented. It's not just about me. It's about my team as well.
Gino, I'm almost afraid to discuss this next one because I feel like we've beat it to death so many times in the past. But
what is it, baby? Yeah. I know where you're going.
RUBS, rubs. Now, guys, I know we've talked about rubs a lot in the past, but it is huge and it is so important. For those of you who are just starting to listen to the program, RUBS stands for Ratio Utility Billing Systems. And it's basically a program that allows operators to bill the tenants back for usage of water, sewer, garbage, etc. Now, we typically, we'll take a look and say, okay, what is our water and sewer usage? We try to, divide that up amongst the tenants of the property, and then also include the garbage so we know that there's a buffer there, so we're never billing back more than the tenant is actually using. Gino, you want to kind of discuss Park Place and how that had such an impact on our business?
Well, what happened was Park Place just had like $10,000, $12,000 a month in utility. We were like, holy cow. And the majority of that was the water that laundry was using. So we said to ourselves, how can we recoup some of that? Now, the first thing we did was, is it happening elsewhere in our market? Are other people charging for it? Now, I got a comment from somebody. Maybe somebody can email me later or leave a comment below that they said in North Carolina it's illegal to implement RUBS. In Louisville market, somebody told me that a lot of the operators don't do that. They just include it in the rent. In Cleveland, Ohio, same thing with the heat. in a lot of these buildings, 10, 12, 15 units, they have one boiler, so they really can't separate out and do rubs. So what they do is they charge higher rent. It's another behavior tactic. Basically, if you can charge them rubs, they'll see that they're paying for it, so they're not going to waste it. That's one of the great users of rubs. Now, what we did is we were fortunate that in our market, everyone implements it.
Everybody doing rubs.
Yeah, all the savvy operators that know. And a lot of the mom and pops who've been doing it.
No, the big boys. The big boys are doing rubs for sure.
Yeah, so the mom and pops, they're not offering the services. They don't even know about it. They think that if they do it, they're going to lose the tenant. So we went around and we were asking other brokers, are you using it? How much are you charging? And we figured out what everyone else is charging, and we were right in line with everybody else. We're not charging any more. We're not charging any less. But we think it's fair because the tenants are using that part of the water, and they're using that part of the garbage. Why should they be paying for it? And it was awesome for us because basically what we ended up doing on 136 units, collecting like $35 and $40 a month, that's almost $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year. Once again, at a 10 cap, which is not what it is. It's like an 8 cap, but a 10 cap, that's $600,000 in value we created by implementing something that is going to curb our usage because people are going to use less because they know they're paying for it. And all we're doing is pushing off a cost that they're using. So it is an amazing revenue generator, and it's just another one of those things that you can just curb behavior.
Hey, it sounds like you're increasing NOI and supporting the environment. Look at you, man. Wow. G-Dad in the house. So next up, applications. Again, I think when we first started, we adopted like a $25 application fee because the mom and pop, the first mom and pop that we bought didn't even do applications. So that was like, well, shit, where do we start? And then the next one I think was like, okay, we charge 25. And we're like, oh, we charge 25. Well, now we charge 45, and we're probably still under market on it, right? Mm-hmm. But it costs us $16 per application. If you guys are just starting out, and you don't have professional software in place that has this feature or this service, you can use tenantreports.com. They'll probably want to charge you $25, but you can definitely negotiate them down to like 15 or 16. So don't take that face value there what they're going to show you. But this is huge because you need to create a safe community, and applications are all about creating a safe community. But also, you need to be profitable. So if your leasing agent is going to take the time to process this, you're going to get charged for it. You need to be able to have a markup on that to make it worth everyone's time. Because not only is it taking time out of their day, but you're also making the community safer and making sure you're not letting in bad people or people that aren't going to be able to afford the unit, because then it's just the downward death spiral from there.
A couple of things about applications. Number one, never, ever, ever take cash for an application because that money will disappear. How do we know that?
I think it happened.
You feel the pain, huh, Jake?
And then Jakey had to go on a rampage and start firing some ass, right?
Well, what happens is you start seeing one month you have $300 in applications, next month you have $400, the next month you have $50. So you have to really be diligent about looking at your numbers and saying to yourself, okay, what's going on? And it'll also give you an idea that if you do 10 applications and you only get 2 rentals, well, what's going on here? So you can track your performance on it.
It's always good to balance this stuff because it's going to tell you a lot about the ethics of your people, right?
That's right. And the other thing with the applications is it is a good barometer. You're there. You're handing over the keys to your asset to somebody. Look at it that way. You're giving the keys to somebody, to your asset, and you have to say to yourself, is this person going to be responsible? Is he going to pay me? Because I know one thing that I've done wrong. I rented to the wrong person, and I'd rather have that apartment being vacant 2 months, 3 months than renting to the wrong person, because the wrong person is going to get in there. He's going to trash the unit. He's going to take 60 days to get out. You're going to need to do evictions. It's going to cost you a ton to turn the apartment over. You're better off doing that application and making sure that you got the right person in there. Do you feel my pain, Jake?
I feel the pain, brother. I feel the pain.
I want you guys all to do that. I want you all to do applications. It's not a gut feeling kind of thing, guys. And the other thing is,
that's one time where your gut's going to tell you wrong, because the people that come in and sell you are usually the ones you don't want, because there's a reason they're selling so hard, trying to make you feel good. Right?
And Jake, it's the same thing as the late fees. Please make an application fee to everybody. You want to be consistent and across the board. This is one of your systems that you set in place. You do applications for every single person, and you don't make any exceptions.
Next up is the move-in fee. This is not something that is unique to us, but there's not a lot of people out there doing it. Most people charge security deposit. They may charge 2 months up front. They may charge 1 month up front. We charge moving fees. We don't want to be running escrow accounts. We don't want to be tracking stuff, and we don't want to have any kind of tension on the front end with the tenant. Security deposit creates tension on the front end because the tenant in the back of their mind is always wondering, am I going to get that money back? What we do is we essentially charge, if the unit is $700, we probably charge about a $400 move-in fee. That goes to helping turn the unit, the paint, the carpet, etc. And then at the end of the relationship, the tenant is out. We do something called sure deposit. It's basically a risk management tool. It's a bond. It's an additional $87. So if something does get busted up in there, we're covered for another $500. Okay. This is really nice because everything's going to the bottom line. It's easier from the accounting standpoint, and it actually is increasing the bottom line from the jump, and you're not waiting for something to get broken. If it does, you have the sure deposit in place to cover that. We're not going to go too far into sure deposit today, just because of time. But you guys can Google them, and a move-in fee is simply what it is. But it also is nice because it holds the unit. So if the person says, "Well, I'm moving in 2 weeks," well, if they put that move-in fee down $400, $500, that's going to hold that unit for them for the next 2 weeks and get that application process started.
It's a non-refundable deposit. They're not getting their money back.
Non-refundable fee.
Yes. But, it's funny. It's one of those things that you got to think outside the box. And I know a lot of people, if they're on the show and they've been in real estate forever, they're going to go, well, can't do that in my market. You don't know unless you try. You're an entrepreneur. You're trying to find solutions and ways to create value. It's a low barrier to entry. If people don't have first and last month's rent, they're going to be, hard pressed to get into a unit. But if you say to them, listen, it's only $400, you're not getting your money back, but it's only $400 as opposed to $1,200 to get in, they're going to think twice and go, wow. So then try it. I'm up here in the Northeast, not really widely used up here because damages up here can be really expensive if something goes wrong with an apartment. So I understand why they want to have first and last month's rent, but maybe look into that. It's Sure, S-U-R-E deposit. Look into them and see if it works in your market.
There's more to this though, because if the person, for whatever reason, they don't have credit or their credit is not where it needs to be and is not within our parameters, we do something called a risk fee, which we actually charge more money up front to allow that person to get in case something does happen where they bust out or they're not able to pay. So there is a sliding scale where you can pay more to get in if you do have the money and you fell on hard times in the past. We do have something called a risk fee, so that's another thing to consider.
With the security deposits, guys, I did it in the very beginning too. I'm showing you all my bruises that I had in the very beginning. You have to segregate it. It is not your money. You have to put it in an interest-bearing account, an escrow account to the side. It's not your money. You're not supposed to use it. And everyone's like, I'll never get caught. So until something happens, until you have that tenant who's a real nightmare and gives you a lot of problems, that's when you say to yourself, I should have done that. Just like having an employee handbook. But
just always do the right thing anyways, right? It's not even worth it.
That's right. So that's why I'm telling them, make sure it's interest-bearing, it's on the side, and it's in a different account. You do not want to commingle funds with your operating account. That is something you definitely do not want to do.
Next up, renter's insurance. Much like the move-in fee, you probably have buying power where you can get renter's insurance through your software company for, say, $9 a month. If you hit the market for renter's insurance, it's usually going to be $15 to $20 a month. So if you can buy the renter's insurance, through your software for the tenant, have them purchase it for $9, charge it back to them for $15, that's another $6 a month that you're going to be able to not only profit, but you're giving good renter's insurance at a reasonable price for $15. So I think that is a true definition of the win-win. And if something happens to the unit, that tenant is going to be covered. So you're educating them on renter's insurance where they can actually get something that's going to protect them as well.
Guys, I wrote a tenant handbook. If you want a copy of it, you want to take a look at it, email me at gino@jakeandgino.com. My whole thing is I want to be able to educate the tenants. If you have renter's insurance, anything inside the unit that gets damaged that's yours will get covered. Peace of mind. Somebody comes over, smashes your TV, you're going to get covered. Not the landlord's responsibility. So you have to educate it. It's almost like when you're selling owner financing to the seller, you have to educate them. You have to tell them about the merits of it. I had a story about 6 months ago. Somebody was renting one of my units up here in New York. Had water damage. Water leaked down into the unit, and this guy was a contractor. He had construction stuff. His stuff got damaged. He's freaking out to me. I'm like, dude, do you have renter's insurance like I told you to get? And you know what I got, Jake? I have my own personal insurance. I'm like, dude, I know you have your own personal insurance, but you need renter's insurance because it got damaged here. I'm like, it's just it bothers me because like people for $10 a month, and I told them, and I have a rental space next to him. I have my own renter's insurance, and it's my own building and my own product in there from the restaurant that I'm renting out, and I still secured it with insurance. Get the renter's insurance for yourself if you're renting, and if not, offer it to your tenants and tell them why it's a good idea.
The next up is another thing that we have a sliding scale for is short-term rentals. What basically, if you need a 9-month lease, a 6-month lease, whatever the case may be, there's a premium on that because we need to get someone in a unit for about a year to really make the whole system work, because our biggest cost is really our turnover cost. So you go in, you have to clean carpets and paint and all that. So I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but just say your 2-bedroom goes for $700 a month. Well, if you need to rent for 9 months, it may go to $850. If you need to rent for 6 months, it may go to $1,000 a month. But at least you have that option to offer a solution to the tenant and create an environment where you can really get as many people in as you can and make it work for both sides.
It's another value-add proposition. It depends where you are. If you're in a market where you got guys coming in construction short-term for 6 months, you could probably even get a premium upon the premium because they're only there for 6 months. And you're known as the guy who's creating value, and he's solving problems.
Problems.
It's the solution.
Entrepreneur, if there's Barbaro in the house today.
Dude, you have to look at what the market provides. If that's what your market provides, and you need short term, whether it's college, people going to college, and you can make it up. You can split it up into, let's say, per bed or per whatever. You have to look at what the market wants, and that was a great call for us. We in the short term, we're leasing up this property. We need to lease up a few spaces. Boom, it got us through. It got us that extra cash flow. And then by the time they came out, the rest of the property was stabilized. And then we went back to them, and we started doing yearly leases. So for us, it's been really a boon for us.
Take what the defense is giving you. Rent amenities. So this is a cool one because we just added a fitness center to one of our properties, and we've had a lot of interest from yoga instructors to rent the space out in the morning so they can teach their yoga classes. I think this is really good for me because I'm pretty stiff, and it might help me out a little bit. Maybe they'll cut me a break and I can get in on one of these classes. Gino, what do you think?
Oh, you're killing me. You're not stiff, bro. You're fluid. You are fluid, bro. You're smooth.
But not only that though, but clubhouse. If you have a clubhouse that someone's having a birthday party, that's a great opportunity to rent out the clubhouse to the tenant, and that gives the tenant space. So if they have, if they're from out of state. And they have family coming in and they need a space to rent, that gives them a great opportunity to rent out, bring the family together, and celebrate their special event. So a lot of options to rent different amenities. And
listen, also, if you have tennis courts and you have somebody who's a pro tennis guy who wants to do tennis lessons, that's a great way for him to say, hey, let me use your court. I'll give you $20 for the hour. He charges $50. Also, personal trainers. Huge now. If you have a personal trainer on, and it's not even the money you're generating, it's just the goodwill and it's the community atmosphere that you're creating. You got the personal trainer down there, he's working out with somebody, the place is filled, the space is filled, it's being utilized, you have other people going in there, it just creates that atmosphere. So, think outside the box. That's a great one. I like that one. Venice Beach, baby, pull-up competitions, me and you. Let's do it. You're gonna kill me on that one, so.
Parking, another one that more and more times in cities and in congested areas, parking is becoming a luxury. So if you have extra parking, but you're right down in a highly populated area, why not rent that stuff out, right? Even at Gino's restaurant, you guys could use some more parking there, couldn't you?
I was actually going to buy a property down the street just to use for my employees and then rent it during the day to available businesses. So I have a 4-family up the street from there. There's 3 1-bedrooms and 1 2-bedroom on the property. So the 1-bedrooms get 1 parking and the 2-bedrooms get 2 parkings. And there was a couple of parking spots left over. I was renting out the other 3 parking spots for $50. It's $150 a month.
Yep.
I mean, that is a lot of money. It's $2,000 at the end of the year. That's my insurance policy basically paid. So it's additional revenue. Remember that property we were looking at University of Tennessee downtown when they had the football games? That guy was using the parking on the student housing. He was making some serious bank
cash
on that
money,
thing, right?
baby.
Yeah, and he was making some serious money, but it all comes back to being able to provide value. People start parking on your property; they know your house is there, or your apartments are there. One day they might become your tenants. So that's the way you got to look at it.
Yep. Next up is huge cable revenue. This is like, I don't even know why these guys are paying this still, because they come in and they get a marketing exclusive agreement. What the hell does that mean? I don't know, but all I know is that it can be upwards of $50,000 to $75,000 paid up front once you get that deal worked out. So that is something you really want to take advantage of, and definitely get a good relationship in with the cable providers.
Well, Jake, on the last property we did, it was 156 units, and they had just signed one the month before for $50,000, and we assumed the property. And guys, when you buy this, it actually goes on the deed. So when you do your title search,
came with.
Yeah, so if you want to get out of it, you can't get out of it. What happened with us on one of our deals was they were 3 years into 3 or 4 years into the deal. There was only like $15,000 left over, but they did not want to give us the money. And I looked at Jake. I said, "Do you want to lose a $10 million, $11 million deal for $15,000 in cable revenue?" The average person would have been
but I wanted the cable revenue too.
Yeah, but so what do we do though? What do we do? Cooler minds prevailed, and we said, "You know what,
up, man."
Yeah," and we let it go. But that's something that you can really fight for.
Well, we
because
did cash flow $20,000 on one of the properties last month, and we're up probably 10 on the other one. So I think we doubled our. Yeah, okay, we're doing.
Yeah,
we're doing all right. We're doing all right, man. We're doing all right.
So don't cut your nose to spite your face kind of thing. Just know that it's there. Know that when you do your due diligence, if they don't have it, don't say anything when you sign the contract. Even 30, 40 units. And the other thing I'm actually exploring now is cell towers. Right up here in New York, I have a friend down the street from my place. He puts these big things on the building. They look like speakers. So I called him. I said, "What is that?" He said he got Verizon to actually called him, and they installed on his building, on his commercial building. So we're actually going to be looking at that down in Tennessee, and I'm actually looking it up.
Back in the day when we first started, we were like, "Man, we got to get some billboards and cell towers," and we just couldn't connect on it. If anyone out there is listening to this, you have some ways for us to get billboards up or some cell towers, hit us up.
Let us know, because we want to share it with the community. Because with the community, they can really use this. If you can get a cell phone tower $500 or $600 a month, paying from Verizon or from one of these guys, that is some serious recurring revenue there.
And think of the value to the tenants. They're going to have that 4G is going to be lightning fast, right?
It's a great thing. So if you guys have any tips on that or any knowledge on who to contact, let us know. We'd love to share with the community. You guys will make money, and the community will make money also.
Next up is something we dabble in. We're not huge on it, is vending. We have some vending at one of our properties. I think we have some Coke machines. We've had some in other properties in the past, and it just depends on the tenant base. Like one of our properties has a lot of kids, and the vending became like a hangout spot. So we actually pulled the vending machines out because we weren't really making that much money on them, and it just seemed to be like the place where like the Bart Simpson kids wanted to hang out. So we're like, all right, these things got to go. But at one of our other properties, a little more established and older crowd, and the vending seems to be fine. So you can make a couple extra bucks on it, and it might be a nice amenity for folks. So I'm kind of I'm okay with vending. Not one of my favorites. Not a rubs for me, but I like it. What do you think?
National companies basically looking for bigger properties. You need to have a certain number of units for them to come in and really take you seriously. You can find a mom and pop who has a vending supply company where he goes out and puts machines, or if you want to, you go on Craigslist, probably buy a vending machine if you want to do that and stock your own. It's more of an amenity kind of service kind of thing. If they're doing laundry and they have bottled water there or something, that's pretty cool. That's what we're looking for. But other than that, it's not a big generator, but it is an amenity for tenants.
And here's one for you where you're just gonna lose money on. Offer water. When someone comes in, have some bottled water in the fridge. So you have a tenant come in, have some water there. Hey, can I get you a water? Can I get you Keurig or whatever? Little things like that. So 2 cents. Gino, I think this is one of your favorites. The pet fee. You liking that one, huh?
Not a pet guy. I'm a kid guy. I got kids.
For them now.
Well, I told my wife it's either kids or pets, and the kids won out. So, in Knoxville, pets are huge. I mean, the problem with this is that if you do not take pets on your property, you're eliminating about 50% of the potential tenant base. That's the main issue that we have here. So right off the top, you're eliminating them. Now, I understand why you don't want to have them on your property. I totally get it. But it's a business decision, and you have to say to yourself, do I want to knock out potentially 50% of my clients To us, we can. We even built a dog park on one of our properties because it was something that, and every time I'm there, there's always somebody using that dog park. It's amazing. I'll always see, so I don't see people in laundry, but I'll see people more in the dog park than in the laundry. It's a community gathering. It's not expensive. And you know what? We do a one-time non-refundable deposit, and it's not even a lot of money. I've seen guys charge $300. We make it a lot more reasonable, $150 for one time. And then we'll put a premium, charge another $20 a month per pet. Now, you guys can say to yourself, say, listen, I don't want a 300-pound dog on there. You can make the size, and it's per pet. So make sure that, when you rent it to a cat, and you do your 6-month inspection, they have 7 animals in there. You're either going to do one or two things. You're out because you violated the thing, or you can say to yourself, you owe me, So he's laughing because it's happened to him. It's happened to me. So expand on that, Mr. Stenziano.
No, listen, pets are great, and they're a big part of people's lives, and you need to have an option there for the pets, but at the same time, you need to be able to cover yourself. We could look at it and say, we're making money on it. Well, if the dog comes in and chews up the trim and takes a bite out of the cabinet, are we really making money? Sometimes it's more of, like Gino said, it's a business decision to make sure we're able to get folks in the door, but you want to be able to cover yourself, and it's kind of like a risk mitigation thing to me more than a profit source. But
Jake, the funny thing is, a lot of the mom and pops aren't even utilizing it at all. They're allowing pets,
and then people
not
sneak
charging.
the pets in anyways, right?
Yeah, but they're not even charging. Even like a lot of our properties, they weren't charging pet fees at all. And there were pets on there. We're looking at the property right now that we lost out on. There were no pet fees on that property, but there's pets on there. So that's something that you need to generate and to protect yourself at the same time.
Here's something that is so important, and there's actually software companies out there that will do this for you, but they're very expensive, and that's a built-in increase. And really what we do for this is that every year we set pricing in December, and essentially if we look, okay, we see inflation's around 3%, 3.5%. To extend your lease, we'll charge you 3 to 4%. If you want to extend your lease, but you only want to be there for 9 months, that's probably going to go to 10%. If you want to extend your lease, but you only want to be there for six months, that's going to go to 15%, and so on and so forth. So it's similar to our sliding scale that we talked about before. But the key is that you need to be keeping up with the market, and you got to keep up with inflation, because guess what? The house cleaner is going to come and say, it was $75 to clean a unit last year. Well, this year it's $78. And you need to be able to cover that. And, the painter said, well, it was, $400 to paint last year. Well, this year it's $410. So, look, this expense creep is real. It's part of our economy. You just got to accept it, but you got to keep up with it. You can't be the one that is getting buried by the expense creep. You just got to be, a business person, and you got to keep up with it.
Let's talk about that expense creep, because now we've really focused on the revenue a lot, and revenue, you need to focus on it. It's vital. It's the lifeblood of any company. If you're not generating revenue, and that's why salesmen should be held in such high regard, because the salesman is the one who, gets the money flowing, gets the currency. You can have the best product in the world, but if you're not generating sales, that doesn't do anything for it. So we have the article written in our blog. It's on the Manage Right, and we've listed all these vendors, but I want Jake to read them down and just really go over them really, really quick to see who you really should be on top of. And you should be looking at these guys every year, and make it a point to review them every year. Make it a point that they know that they have to be on call and that they're being looked at. When I was in the restaurant business, I would get a vendor would come in, a fish guy would say to me, I got this for $3 a pound, this for $6 a pound. What are you paying? And that's not the relationship you want to do, because what he's doing is he's trying to beat you on price, and fine. And 6 months later, all of a sudden,
and that question needs to be turned around.
I hated that with a passion. And I had vendors for a long time, and I would have 2 vendors. I'd have 2 fish guys. I'd have 2 produce guys. So I would be checking one against the other. So that's one way I dealt with the expense creep. And then I would go out every now and again and solicit, because what happens when you start a relationship, guys are always worried about the price. They're not worried about the value, and they're not worried about the service. They're looking at what it's going to cost. So you have to take that into consideration also. So if your expense creep is going up, but you're really happy with the value and the service that they're providing, sometimes you might have to pay a touch more, but you're getting that in the value and the service of the product.
Before we get into these vendors that Gino was just talking about, I put a post up on Instagram the other day, and I wrote, execute a plan to keep your expenses as low as possible. Then spend most of your time finding ways to grow your income. Basically, we have set pricing. We know what we're paying for painting across the board. We share it. We have a community Dropbox for our company. So we know what we're paying per square foot for cleaning. We know what we're paying per square foot for painting. We know what we're paying per square foot for flooring. Therefore, if someone sends in a bid or we see pricing come in, we know, okay, does not jive with what we're paying. This is very important, and this will help keep the expense creep down. So it's so important. What are you paying pest control per unit? Get these prices, start a spreadsheet, know what you're paying per unit or per square foot, and therefore you're never going to be guessing, when I get a bid, is this good or not? Okay? Super important. So again, the idea is always find ways to grow the top line revenue and then maintain and beat down the expense creep. It's going to be a constant fight. It's going to be a constant struggle. Don't give in. Don't settle. Keep fighting, because it's a good fight. Keep fighting the good fight, right, Gino?
And Jake forgets to mention, but I always think of it in the back of my mind. Every single thing in real estate, and for the most part in life, is all about negotiation. Mm-hmm. Go on our blog, read our articles on negotiation. I've written several articles on negotiation. Please read them, because the best story is 1% closing origination fee. Hey, Mr. Banker, can you do 0.75? Sure. And then Jay calls me up and goes, I can't believe it. I didn't even think of asking him for 0.5%. And it's all about asking and being reasonable. You don't want to lowball anything, but you at least put your thing out there. Well, Jake likes a lowball. I'm more of a win-win kind of guy. I don't want to beat everybody up just on price, but at the same time, I want to know what everyone else is charging. I want to be in the ballpark. But the bottom line is know that you can negotiate anything. And, they're going to come back at you. So when they come back at you, just realize, and if the negotiation doesn't work, when somebody says no to you, they're not saying no to you. That's a part of the problem why people don't like to negotiate, is because they don't like the rejection. Just think of it to yourself. They're not saying no to you. They're saying no to what you're talking about and what you're asking. So don't take it personally. That's why people don't like to negotiate. And that's why Jake is great at it, because he's a salesperson. He's trained in it. He's probably taken no a lot of times in his life, and he's used to it.
Not true. Because negotiation is not about puffing out your chest. It's not about how deep your voice is. It's not about how angry you're going to get. Mm-hmm. It's about doing your homework. It's about having facts. And it's about just getting the body of knowledge that's out there. So maybe it's getting 3 quotes. Maybe it's finding out some research that the competition didn't know about. But when you go to somebody and they say, I'm going to charge you $500 to paint this 2-bedroom apartment, and then you show them 2 receipts from 2 other vendors for $400, what's going to speak louder there? You saying,
I agree.
I don't want to pay that.
Yes.
Or having the facts,
yep,
being able to show on paper. This is why it's so important to get minimum of 3 bids for any job, because you're going to be able to go and say, look, this is what the guy down the street's charging. I don't know why you're taking me for such a schmuck, but this is what the going rate is. This is what the market's charging. Look, we do it with our apartment. We don't overcharge for apartments. We know what the market's charging, and we're consistent with the market. But what you see a lot of times with contractors is they want to see what they can get, right? Kind of like your fish guy. Let me see what I can get. No, the market is real, and we're trying to be consistent with the market. And if we can beat it, great.
But my point is that you're not going to be insulted or offended, or you're going to get taken back if they say no.
No. I just want to make the point that doing your homework is vital.
Yep.
So real quick, because we're running a little long here, we're just going to hit this list for you guys to say, okay, who do I need to keep in line? Number 1, insurance. Insurance is some of the kings of the cost creep, right? And I got to give a shout out to my boy Kelly, who's coming on the show in a couple of weeks, because we're going to talk insurance. We're going to get into the insurance game here in the next few episodes.
Compare apples to apples, though, yes. Jake. Remember, get your deck page. Make sure you have your business interruption. Make sure you have everything in force. Your deductible is the same. Your coverage is the same, whether it's replacement or
for any of this stuff.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you really have to be, especially with insurance, though, because guys are going to come and lowball you and not give you the same coverage, and then all of a sudden you dive into the policy, and wow, I didn't have coverage for theft of product or whatever it is. So just be careful what you're getting underwritten for.
Accounting and bookkeeping, huge. A lot of players in that game. You're going to want to keep these guys honest. Software providers. Okay, this is a very this is going to tie in with the accounting, but software is crucial. It's really how the tenants are interacting with you nowadays. So that you want to get a good service, but also one at a good rate. And this is one where we're kind of working on our systems and bundling this stuff now. So we have phone providers and internet services. So we're looking to use our economies of scale now and say, look, we have 3 management offices. We want to bundle these services and get a blanket plan and really get this stuff beat down. Trash removal. This is a huge one because when you get into this game, when you get into multifamily and you get multiple locations, you're going to have a lot of bargaining power when it comes to trash because guess what? Tenants use a ton of trash removal. It's just the facts. So you're going to have a ton of bargaining power here, and you're going to want to really get. This is almost like negotiating a banking relationship when it comes down to it because you're going to want to get the longest term at the lowest fixed rate possible. And that's sort of my approach to trash, and I kind of enjoy negotiating trash and banking deals for that matter, but it's just me.
Trash is a funny thing because you have to also know about the size because they can be bringing you a 5-yarder when you only need a 2-yarder. They're picking you up 3 days a week when you might need 2 days a week. So you're going to have to find out what the property needs and try to maximize that. I mean, how much we saved in the first deal? We bought the 25 unit. It was huge.
The third deal was tremendous. That was like, whoa, that made the deal in all the trash deal.
And with the trash deals, certain markets have certain providers. So when you're researching a market, I would go and I would talk to a real estate broker, a multifamily broker, say, who are the major trash providers in this area? You hope there's a few, so there's a little competition. I don't want to belittle any of them, but I know I've used Waste Management before.
Dude, those guys are nuts.
But they're very expensive. They're really expensive. So just go on the market, find out who the players are, and then contact each one of them and say how much a 2-yarder once a week, basically, or twice a week, whatever you need. Pest
control, we negotiate on the unit. Cleaning is by the square foot. Property management is by the gross income. You may have, hiring leasing assistants, leasing, people just do leasing in-house. Marketing is a crazy one because you're going to have, multiple different sites out there, but now Facebook's getting in the game too, and you can do a radius around your apartment complex. So apartments.com, the apartment guides of the world, and then, Facebook's getting into the game too, so, look out for that. Carpet and flooring. You're also going to have carpet cleaning, which is you want to get a good carpet cleaner on board because they can save you a lot of money because tenants will come in, beat it up, and then the flooring guy is going to say no, you need to replace it. The cleaning guy is going to say let me try it, and if he's willing to try it, and if it doesn't work out, and he's not going to charge you for it, that's where you want to be with that. Laundry leasing, we talked about that earlier. Painters, man. Woo! Get ready for a ride if you're going to be dealing directly with painters. That's all I'm going to say about that. Electricians and plumbers, those guys, a lot of times, trying to charge by the hour. A little tip for that is if you're going to big enough staff and you're going to have some construction, this, that, or the other thing, try to get someone on in a maintenance role that also is a certified plumber, a certified electrician. Therefore, when some of these bigger jobs come up, you're going to handle it in-house, right? I'm gonna get that printed on the back of our maintenance tech shirts, little quotations that say in-house, but that's just me. Landscape, man, it's such an important thing, and then we use a couple different companies for this. Some of the higher end properties we have, we pay a little more. Some of the properties we've had for a little bit, we're running with some guys that are a little less expensive, but landscaping's huge and it can make or break you. If guys aren't out there making sure that the beds are looking right and the bushes are trimmed the way they should be, tenants it's going to show, and tenants are going to say, look, these guys don't care. So, and landscaping is expensive. It's every week, and we have a pretty long season here for landscaping in Tennessee. So, I guess the flip side is, you'd be shoveling snow up there, right?
That's right.
But then HVAC, you're going to have to get. I think the bigger you're going to have to get someone in house because it's just too expensive to pay to have HVAC contractors coming out. So you're going to have to get someone that's certified in HVAC. That's extremely important. And then, who are you using? HD Supply for your supplies, or using Home Depot, or using Lowe's. All these companies have their own, little uniques. HD Supply is going to be, free next day shipping, so your guys aren't having to go off site. Lowe's is going to give you 5% off. Home Depot is going to give you 5% off if you argue with them. So it's like kind of how it goes. So and then the G Dad's favorite. For every $1 of expenses saved, is $1 that goes straight to the NOI. That's the great thing about expenses. If you cut an expense, you're really saving that $1. Whereas if you're growing the top line, you may only be growing at 80% of each $1 you grow. So.
I just want to wrap it up by saying if you guys like this podcast, the way we're growing the community, the way we're number 7, number 1, number 3 in apartments is by getting reviews. If you like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. And more importantly, my email address is gino@jakeandgino.com. If you have any ideas for any future shows, you want me to talk about something, you want me to do a YouTube video for you, you just want a question answered, email me directly and I will get back to you same day with an answer. That's what we're here for. Jake and I are here to serve you guys and just to grow this community and just to get everybody into their first deal. It's overwhelming. It's hard. It's scary. We've been there. I know how you feel because it's tough on your first one. You say, I've never done it before. But you know what? You've never done a lot of things before and you always figure it out. And, hopefully with this podcast and with our education, we can help you, get across that gap.
Guys, at the end of the day, the key is being 100% responsible for yourself, your actions, and your outcomes. If you get to that point, good things are going to happen. So, Papa G Funk, it's been real. Awesome show today.
Bye, G Daddy. See you later.
We trust that you enjoyed the Wheelbarrow Profits podcast. Visit jakeandgino.com, your one-stop shop for everything multifamily. See you next time when Jake and Gino share more of their investing secrets with you.